Okay, so here we are back into our drawing. We've just set up, or we've just gone through the AutoCAD annotative dimensioning workflow 8-step process. We're ready to start dimensioning. We'll pick up right where we left off. So we changed our layer to the dimension layer. We have our annotative scale set to 1:1. We have to match our viewport scale, which is set to 1:1. We have our dimension style selected, an annotative dimension style ISO metric, because this is a metric drawing. So we're ready to dimension. All right. So the process for dimensioning is pretty simple with AutoCAD. You basically just have to make sure you choose the correct type of dimension here. All right, what do you want? Do you want a linear dimension and a line dimension, an angular dimension? Are you dimensioning the arc length, the radius, or diameter, ordinate dimensioning, and jog? And I'll tell you right now, for all of our drawings in the MDT 101 course, we're really going to focus on linear, to a very small extent, maybe aligned, maybe angular if we're doing any angles, but mostly linear and radius and diameter. And then again, 95% of everything that you're going to do is either going to be linear or diameter. Okay. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this. All right. So we're going to use our two-step process for dimensioning, right? First, we dimension the sizes of the geometric features, the individual geometric features. And for this drawing, what are the individual geometric features? Okay, so let's look at this. So we have a horizontal prism, right? A prism is just a fancy word for a box. So we have a horizontal box right here. So we can see the top view of it and we can see the side view of it. It doesn't matter that it's a section view. We have a vertical prism or box right here. Here's the top view of that. Here's the side view of that. And you can see the front view of that right there. Now, it does have a curve on the top, a curved top, okay? So that's going to be another shape, a radius that we need to do. But, you know, that's going to be easy to take care of. So we have a horizontal prism, a vertical prism. We have a short little cylinder right here. So this shape right here is a very short cylinder. And you can see the top view right there. And then right in the middle of that is a hole. So we have a positive cylinder right here, right? A short little positive cylinder. And then we have a negative cylinder, the hole. And then we also have another negative cylinder over here. So we have two negative cylinders. And in fact, these are the same diameter. Okay, this is a diameter of 13, So those are the same. And then last but not least, we have a kind of a square, well, look, it's another prism right there, right? So that's another shape, rectangular prism. We can see it in the end there, and you can see the hidden line here, how big it is. Okay, so in total then, what do we have? And I'm going to go, you don't have to do this. I'm just going to do this to help you see what I'm talking about. So I'll put the text in there for this. So we have a horizontal prism. We have a vertical prism. We have a positive cylinder, and we have 2 times negative cylinders. Okay. We have another, I'm going to call it small horizontal prism, right? That's this shape down here. And then really the only thing else to note is we have a number of fillets and rounds, right? So right there we have fillets and rounds. And I'll just put fillets and rounds. That's going to be handled in a note, so I don't really need to worry about that. Up here on the vertical prism, I'm going to put parentheses, rounded top, just so we remember to do that, okay? So again, we'll keep this note up here. this is not anything that you have to do. You might want to have a note written on a sheet of paper with your breakdown, but this is just so you can have a visual accounting while I'm going through this. Okay, so let's take these one by one. The horizontal prism. How do we dimension the size of a horizontal prism or a horizontal box? Well, it's a three-dimensional shape, so it's going to have 3 dimensions. It's going to have a length, a width, and a thickness. All right, so we're going to do this with a linear dimension. So I'm going to click on linear, and I'm going to choose the length right here. Now notice when I go into dimension, AutoCAD, it has object snaps on. We want object snaps on, all right? And so it's going to snap to that corner right there, and we want to grab the endpoint. And then it says specify second extension line origin, which is right over here, boom. And then it says specify the dimension line location. So I'm going to put it right there. And it measures that for me. It gives me the 89. We have these dimension styles set up so that it's the proper format for a metric drawing, so you don't have to worry about that. But that's it. Okay, that's the length. Now we'll do the other dimension right over here, the depth or the width. Again, we go to linear dimension, and I'm going to choose the first extension line origin, and I'm going to choose the second extension line origin. And this time I want to go a little bit further out, and we'll just put it right there. So, it doesn't get any simpler than that, people. That's pretty straightforward. The dimension is already, the number is already set up. The arrow sizes, the format, everything is good. We just have to pick where we want it to be dimensioned. All right. So I said that this prism has 3 dimensions, length, width, and now we need a thickness. The thickness is going to be right down here. So I'm going to go from here to here. Now, I will point out that there might be some argument. You might say, well, wait a second. What about doing this, right? What about that? Why don't we put that in there, And obviously that's 12. This is 16 because this is taking into account this little bit here. But I would warn you that this 12 dimension does not follow the contour rule, right? The contour rule says dimension the features where they are shown in contour. And this shape is in contour, shown in contour in this view, the front view here. This is not the contour of this, right? So that's a no-no, right? Oops, we can delete that. So I'll just click that and hit the delete button. All right. So there we go. All right. So one down. So here, look, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a line through this so that we can kind of have, again, we know what we've done. All right. So now the vertical prism. Hey, it's going to be the same thing, right? Now, I'll do it in a slightly different order. Linear, I'm going to do the thickness right here. So boom, boom, right there. That's 13. We'll go like that. Now notice, let me zoom in a little bit. If I shift it slightly, I get the arrows in or the arrows out. If I drag it out here, I get the arrows in with a number out. If I go like, I don't think, there we go. I can get the numbers in and the arrows out. All right, so it's up to you to decide. I will say that this is something that you will be marked wrong, or you will lose points on this if it looks bad. This really doesn't look good. Why is this not good? So you see, all I have is really the arrows. I don't have the dimension line, so that's not really good. Can I move it like that? Yeah, absolutely. I could do it. I could shift it slightly like this. Could I do it like this? Yeah, absolutely. That's probably the best way to do it right there. So I'll just pick that. Note that the width right here is also the 54. So you would be wrong if you said, oh, let's measure the width of this and we go from here to here. Why would that be wrong? Well, that's what we call redundant dimensions. So I have the 54 here and it's measuring this. This 54 is measuring the same thing. So we only need one of those. We do not need 2 views. In fact, 2 dimensions are wrong. So I'm going to get rid of this one because obviously this one's not in the right location. So I have the thickness, I have the width, and now I need, in this case, the height. Now here's where you have to be careful. Some of you will go, oh, the height. Well, the height is going to be, we'll go from here to here, right? Wrong. All right, this is wrong. Because we're measuring to the top of a circular shape, a cylindrical shape. And we don't want to do that because that's not a useful point to end. Instead, where we want to go is we want to dimension to the center right here. Okay? So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to put in a linear dimension, and I'm going to go from here to here. And that's 41. Now again, you might be inclined to say, well, why didn't you do this, right? From this surface. Why didn't you do, whoops, I think I messed that up. Let me do that again. Why didn't you go from this point to this point? Okay. Well, I would say because this point is not defined yet, right? It's not like the bottom. The bottom is already defined, and we're sharing that with this 16. So this is a much more referenceable, much more practical surface. So in this case, the 41 is good, 37 is not. All right. So guess what, people? That is this one done too. All right. So we're just chugging right along here. The rounded top. How do we do the rounded top? Well, that's easy, right? We just go to a radius. Remember, anything less than a full circle, we should use a radius. So I'll go to a radius, and I'll click the arc, and I'll drag it out. Now, notice here, I can move this around, and I'll just move it right there because it's kind of on the inside. I think that might be a little bit better. Radius 17. And so I have the first two of these done, right? Size dimensions of the basic geometric shapes, horizontal prism, vertical prism, they're completely defined. All right, completely defined. If you were going to make this out of wood right now, or metal or whatever, these are all the dimensions that you would need to make these two horizontal and vertical prisms. Now, positive cylinder. Remember, we dimension a cylinder in its rectangular view with a diameter. So what's the rectangular view of a cylinder? Well, this is not the rectangular view. That's a circular view. Here's the rectangular view. So I'm going to go to linear. Now, here's where, some people get tripped up. You want to do a diameter, right? So you're going to go to, diameter. But diameter says select arc or circle, right? That's not an arc or circle. If I pick that, nothing happens. So here's our first little manipulation we need to make. And you will need to make this often. Okay, so this is important. So this is a linear dimension, right? So I'm going to pick from here to here. And then we'll go up like that. But it's not done. You are not done. You will lose points on that if you just say 28. Why? Because I need the diameter symbol in there. All right. So how do I get the diameter symbol in there? It's very easy, okay? To edit the text, to edit the dimension text, we double click inside the number, and notice I get the cursing blinker in front. The diameter symbol is %% C. So you just type in %% C, and that's it. Now I can close this text editor. Look at that, very easy. Okay. Now, a cylinder needs a diameter and a height. So I'm going to dimension the height. Now, here again, I have two choices. I could dimension the height here. Whoops, let me pull this out right there. It's kind of ugly right there. Or I could dimension the height here. Okay. In this case, I would want to put the 3 with the 16, right? Not over here, right? Why? Well, because I know the location of this surface from the 16. And then from this surface to the next surface, it builds right on it with the 3. It's right there in line. This 3 is just kind of out there. What's that surface right there? Well, I don't know. Oh, look, I have to look over here. So this is where you want to, it's kind of like you want your eye to move as little as possible. So that 3 is not good. All right. Now, we're not done here yet. All right. We still need to kind of manipulate the dimension. All right. So I'm going to leave this here for right now. Actually, no, I'm not. We'll change this. We'll change this right now. So to change the location of the dimension after you put it in there, it's very easy. We click on the dimension, right? I clicked on the dimension line, not the number, but the dimension line. And we get these grip boxes. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab this grip box and I'm going to move it over here. All right, so I lined it right up. Look at that. That looks really nice. All right, it's a perfect continuous line right there. All right, so we have this positive cylinder done. So let's go right there. And now we have two negative cylinders. All right, so we have one here and we have one here. And actually, it doesn't really matter which view we dimension. All right, in this case, they're kind of the same. So I'll do a diameter, and because I got some space in here, I'll pick on this circle and I'll drag it out like this. And that looks good. The only thing we want to avoid here, we do not want our leaders to be nearly vertical or nearly horizontal. So you want them to kind of be in this range right here. It is okay for the leader to cross this dimension line. That is fine. Okay, so I'll put it right about there. That looks good. But again, we're not done because we need to say 2x. We need to say 2 times. So again, to change the text, I'm going to double click on the text. The cursing blinker is in the front, and I'm just going to type in 2x, capital X, space. All right? No space between the 2 and the X, but a space between the X and the diameter symbol. And then I go up here and close the text editor. Look at that. Easy peasy, right? So that's 2 right there, right there. So we can get rid of those 2 negative cylinders right there. And now we got the small horizontal prism. That's this one right here. Well, it's a prism. So it really doesn't, it's really the same length, width, and thickness. We need 3 dimensions, length, width, and thickness. So I'm going to go to my linear, and I'm going to do the length right here. My thickness is going to be right here. I'm going to do it on this side because I know, well, here, let me show you. If I do it on this side, what's going to happen is it's going to get in the way of my dimension. Let me bring over my layout and you can see. Yeah, see, it's really a little bit too close right over there. So I'm going to try to bring it over here. And in general, we should try to dimension between views. It makes the eye movement that much easier. So let me go back to model space. This is not, let me delete that. And let me go in here and we'll put another. Now here's something that I quibble on with people. With students in class. Some of you will go, oh, let's do this one and this one right there, right? And we put the 4 in there and that's all good. But what happens when I pick this corner instead of this corner out here? What happens is the gap, and you can kind of see the green line over it. The gap is hidden by the visible line. So that's not appropriate. We need that gap there. All right. So you want to make sure you pick the correct corner. In this case, I can manipulate. Again, I can just grab this grip and I can drag it out there and move the origin. Now, that looks pretty good, right? I don't think there's enough room for me to move the 4 up here. So we'll just drag it out like that. Length. We got the width. We got the thickness. What about the length? Well, again, the length is the 89. Right? That's how long this small horizontal prism is. So, wow, we are just cruising right through these right there. Fillets and rounds, I'll do that in a note. All right. And actually, I'm also going to pull up our my CAD standard so that we can so that I can reference that. All right, but we'll do our notes next. So I'll just leave that up there because we'll add that in a note. All right. So that's it for the first part. First step is to dimension the sizes of individual geometric features, and we're done. Now we dimension the location of these. Now here's where it gets a little bit more a little bit simpler because we don't have to locate everything. Some things are already located by virtue of where they're positioned in the part. So we have to locate the holes in the cylinders, right? We don't know where that cylinder or hole is. We don't know where this cylinder or hole is, all right? We don't even know where this rectangular prism is, all right? But we can do a couple things. So let's start up here. The horizontal prism doesn't need to be located. It is the part, the basis of the part. Same with the vertical prism. We know that that's right on the end. So we don't have to locate those. So I'm going to put another line through these. I'll put 2 lines through this so that we know that I've already located that. Positive cylinder. Well, certainly I have to locate the positive cylinder, right? So how am I going to locate the positive cylinder? Well, we could explicitly locate it, okay? So the location, I need to come from one end or the other. So this is where the functional part comes into play that we really can't answer. How should I locate this? All right, let me show you. We go to linear and we go from the end here to the end here. I'll put all the options here. All right. So we can locate it like this. Which one of these do we want to use? Do we want to use 51 or 38? We can only use one. We can't use both because that would be over-dimensioning. And which one we use, 51 or 38, depends on really the function of the part, right? We don't really know that. We don't know what machine this sits in or how this part is going to be used. So this is the part that's a little bit up to you. Okay, that's a little bit up to you. I'm going to say that the location of the cylinder is important from the back edge here. So I'm going to leave the 51 and I'm going to get rid of the 38. Okay. Now, I would also say right now that the 89 needs to be moved a little bit out because these are a little bit close. So I'm going to click on this, right? So I clicked on that. And now watch, I can get either this grip box or I can click on this grip box and I can move it a little bit over here. So I'm just going to shift this a little bit that way so that I can do the same thing over here and move it just a little bit down like that and kind of give myself a little bit of space there. I should probably move this a little bit here too. So we'll move it just like that. All right, so I can give it a little bit of breathing room, so to speak. All right, so now that's in the horizontal direction. Now I need to move it in, locate it in the vertical direction. Right, so I'm going to go to linear again. And here, look, I can either go from here to here, 27, or I can go from here to here, 27, right? And again, that decision is going to be based to a large extent on the function of the part. We don't know what the function of the part is. So, we pick one. I'm going to say the front surface here, this edge is important. So I'll get rid of this. So we're dimensioning from the back edge here. So this back edge is important. And from the front edge here. Now you might say, wait a second, isn't the cylinder kind of centered in that? And clearly when I had two 27s in there, you could see that it was. 27 is half of 54. So is there a way to imply or to clearly indicate that the cylinder is located in the middle of this part? Yeah, absolutely. And we do that with the center line or the cutting plane line right there. All right. So that's already there. So you know what? I can get rid of this. Right? Why? Well, because it's redundant. Half of 54 is 27. This is right in the middle. So it's halfway there. All right. So I don't need this other dimension there to locate that. All right. So that's it. That's the location of the positive cylinder. So let me put another line through that, a double line through that right there. Now we go on to the two negative cylinders. So guess what, people? This negative cylinder is already located because we've located it inside of the cylinder. The positive cylinder. So that's done. Now this one, well, wait a second. the same thing. The 41, not only is it a size dimension for the vertical prism, but it's a location dimension for this negative cylinder, the hole. So again, that's done. And it's located, notice the center line here. The center line says, hey, this part is the same on the left and on the right. So it's centered, and so I don't need another dimension. All right. So wow, we're moving through this pretty quickly. And you can see the power of this two-step process. It really is bulletproof. It really is something that is a no-brainer in terms of finishing your dimensions. So now we have the small horizontal prism. That's the only thing left. And guess what? It is also centered. We can see the center line goes all the way through. Okay, so the 38 is centered across the 54. And that's it, right? Now, if it wasn't centered, then yeah, we would need to locate it. And so we would probably have to go in here and do a location dimension like this, right? And what I do is I do this, right? And then I'd click on it and I'd move this grip and I'd move it right there, right? And then there we go. But we don't have to do this because it's as it's intended, as the design intent is, it's symmetrical, so I get rid of that. All right, so that's it. Small horizontal prism is done. So let's put a line through that. Wow, we're done. The only thing left to do is our notes. All right, so let's take a look at this, make sure we're not missing anything. We got our accounting. That's the beauty of this too, is you can make a little note on a sheet of paper, on a scrap sheet of paper as you're working through this, and you can literally just check off all your things, and then you know that you're done. You've labeled, you've dimensioned all the features, and you've located all the features. All right, so let's move on to our notes. All right, so notes are done in, we want to do our notes in the layout. Okay, so I'm going to go to my A3 layout. Okay, and here's my area. My notes are going to go down here. Okay, so let me show you the style of notes. So first of all, let me bring across the CAD department standard, right? This is on Canvas. You've seen this before. So I'm going to go to the page where I list all the notes right there. Okay. So the first thing it says, this is our format for the notes. All right. It says, drawing text shall be displayed in all caps. All drawing notes that are to be placed on the text layer. General drawing notes are to be placed in the bottom left corner of the drawing. And then this is the format. And then these are the following are drawing notes which shall be shown on all mechanical drawings. All right. So I'm going to, you know what? Here's what I'll do. I'm going to leave that up. So I'm going to, all right. So how do we put our dimensions in there? Or excuse me, our notes. Well, the first thing we want to do, let me bring this out, is we want to close, see how I have the red border open? I want to close that viewport window. So I'm going to double click outside of it. Okay. And close that. Now I can zoom in here. This is where I want to put my notes. So I'm going to try to do this so that you can see it. I'll try to pull this in here. Actually, I don't think I'll be able to leave that in there because as soon as I type in that, it's going to go away. So you'll just have to trust me that I'm doing the right thing. All right. So to enter the text, we're going to go to single line text. Okay. Whoops. Before we do that, I need to go to my text layer. There we go. And we want to go to single line text. Now there is a multi-line text. You can use multi-line text for adding your dimension notes. I don't really like to use multi-line text. I just like to use single line text. Multi-line text is it's just, there's too much stuff in it. So we'll use single line text. So I'm going to pick up position right here. It says enter rotation angle 0. And then my notes. Now I have caps lock on, so I'm going to go notes. Whoops. Notes. Spell it properly. : New line. 1. And what is my first note? Well, my first note is going to be drawing in accordance with ASME Y145-2009. Drawing in accordance with ASME Y14.5-2009. That, my friends, is the dimensioning and tolerancing standard for engineering drawings in the United States. All right, and so by adding that note, it says, I have done my dimensions properly according to the standard. All right, enter. 2, period, space, all dimensions in millimeters. This is a millimeter drawing. So, and now, what else do I have? Now here, we go to the next page here, and I've given you the following are example drawing notes, right? So what do we use? Oh, look, all fillets and rounds, right? Remove all burrs and sharp edges. No, we don't. Finish all over it. No, we didn't talk about that. There's no chamfer. There's no tolerances. There's no thread, so we don't need that. Surface texture, no. All surfaces, nope, nope, nope. So the only note we need here is all fillets and rounds are whatever unless otherwise specified. So these fillets are a radius 3, so I'll click in here, dot 3 point. All fillets and rounds are 3 unless otherwise specified. Enter, enter. So when you do 2 enters in a row, it closes the command. And look at that. That's it. We're done. Now, the last thing I would say is we need to look over our dimensions and make sure that nothing is too crowded in here. I'm going to go back to model space. I think like this 41, I can move this out a little bit. So I'm just going to move this a smidge out like this. And maybe move this a bit as well. I got grips on, so it's kind of a pain to move them like that. That looks good. Everything looks good. Everything is clear to read. We'll go back to our thing. I don't need this up there, but I'll, you would erase that, right? If you have that in there. Probably you're not going to use that method. You would just write it by hand. Oh, and the 28's a little bit high. Let me go down here. It does matter if you're wondering whether I'm going to be picky with dimension location. Yeah, I am going to be picky with dimension location. Obviously, there's some leeway in there. There's some gray area. But, if you put the 28, if you put it way up here, yeah, I'm going to mark that wrong. Okay? So, it needs to look good. But everything there looks good. And that's it. Okay? So, we're done with that. Now I can enter the title block information and then go ahead and print it. All right. So that's this video done and dusted. I'll do another video that will walk through the same process again, just to reiterate, the 2-step procedure and how you dimension in AutoCAD. All right. I'll see you in the next video.